Welcome back to another PTO Leaders Chat. With me today is Karen Joyce. Hi, Karen. How are you today?
Good, good. Thanks for having me back.
Sure. I love talking to you because I think we both we both have very different experiences. And so I think it's always fun to talk to you because I never know what you're going to say.
Well, that's a good thing.
It is. I think it's helpful for everyone to kind of see different perspectives. Sometimes I hate being like the lone talking head on these videos. So I love to hear what you have to say and then kind of have that more discussion because I think we get a better delve into the topic and it's more, I think, relatable. Because we have different points of view that were usually, maybe sometimes they're slightly different, sometimes they're the same, but anyway, I digress. So today I kind of wanted to talk about something that could maybe touch people. Oh, that sounds wrong. I don't want to touch people in the wrong way, but hit people in a different spot. And that's because a lot of people can't deal with this. And that's how, like, handling mistakes as a PTO leader. I know I have made my share of them. I will continue to make them because I am only human. But there's different, I've had different reactions to making mistakes over the year. I've seen other people with either good responses to when they make a mistake or perhaps a very bad response. So I thought this might be kind of a different kind of topic for us to talk about.
Yeah. So I'm really curious about like the bad responses, because every time I keep thinking about responses, I think about like just ownership of the situation. And I think that de-escalates things. But I'm trying to think about when I've seen bad responses and how to learn from that too. So
Sure. Well, I guess, so one thing that pops to mind is that years ago we were having it was years ago, but it's an annual event, Founders Day for PTA. And so this was we had like typically a dinner, and now it's evolved into just desserts and a little less formal, but it was a sit down dinner. And then there was like it was like a banquet kind of, where we had like a written program and that was handed out like when you checked in at the table. And so I was just an attendee. I wasn't like presenting or doing anything like that, but I checked in and I was looking through the program and I realized that the program forgot to include our school. So typically every school nominates one community volunteer and then one staff member to be honored with the Lifetime Achievement Award. And they forgot a school. And it was the school where was I president that year? No, I don't think I was president. No, I wasn't. I don't think I was president. So it's been a hot minute. And the older I get, I'm like, I don't remember what I was doing at that point. You know what though? I take that back. Because I've never been a council delegate. I've only ever been president to be going to those meetings. And that's why I would have gone to Founders Day for that, because you go to represent your unit and all this jazz. Anyway, so I go to check in. It's a very long lead up for this story. So I go to check in and I look in and I see that the school is entirely missing. And I'm like, holy crap, because I felt like it was disrespectful to our honorees, our recipients, and that it's a time for them to be recognized and then memorialized in writing. And because it's not just their names, it was like everyone submitted like a bio. So like a short little paragraph, like half page usually, paragraph about them so that you could like learn about them, because
that's nice.
We have a district of thousands, right? You can't possibly know all of the staff members or parents.
Right.
And so I said, I found the council president and I was like, hey, the school is missing. And she was like, oh, that's somebody else's problem. And I was like, oh, like, okay, no, like she knocked out like, oh, well, like we forgot, like no big deal. And that was somebody else's problem. And I was like, it's kind of your problem. Like, I didn't say that to her because I didn't want to start a thing. And she was kind of a testy person to begin with. But I was like, I can't believe how cavalier she was about this. And I had gotten there pretty early. So there would have been an opportunity for some kind of remedy, because I think I was there 45 minutes in advance, and like somebody could have done something to at least run to a computer and printed out at least 2 copies for our recipients so that they would have it. And that was super disappointing.
Yeah, that's hard. That's an emotional, I think to not address that's the whammy, right? The mistake is one thing, we all make mistakes, but to just kind of gloss over it and not to address your emotions over it. I think post-COVID, I feel like we do that more and more. Like people are so like right on the cuff. Like everything seems heightened emotionally. And I think addressing that.
Sorry.
Oh, no, but that was.
Yeah. This was a couple of years before COVID, actually. So she was leading the charge with the, but I was just annoyed because I felt like if I had been in her position, I would have said, oh my goodness, I am so sorry. Here's what I'm going to do to address it. I will send you another copy. I will have the program redone, and I will send you over 2 programs for your recipients so they can have that memento, right? That, to me, in the moment, that would have been like all I could do. But even though it would not have been my job to do it, because I was the president of the organization, I would have stepped up and just said, this is what we're going to do, and made that. But she had took no ownership, offered no remorse, or not even remorse, wasn't looking for remorse, just like, I see you, and yes, this is upsetting.
Right.
And so, yeah, she's, I could tell stories about her mistakes.
Oh.
Good golly, Miss Molly. She had a ton of them, and just stepped in it always. So
yeah, that ownership portion is so important. And as leaders to acknowledge a lot of times, that omission may not have been malicious. A lot of times we don't see things coming at us, but how do you work through that? And not to your own fear, I'm such a people pleaser, I would want to make it right, but what makes it right in the eyes of the person that is upset?
Yeah.
Right. So to say, what can we do to make this better in the moment or offside or et cetera? And that I think would have made your situation way better. But,
it would have. And then to contrast that, I have a really good friend. I'm not saying this just because she's a really good friend. I think we're really good friends because of this and because of how she approaches things. So I've talked about her. I don't know specifically between you and I personally, but I've alluded to her being my PTO superstar, my mentor, because I've almost always followed her. She's president first, then I follow. Almost, it's happened three times, I guess, right now, because one year I screwed it up. And I said, I can't do this right now. And so she was like, okay, fine. I was like, sorry. And we had somebody else come in and be president she was horrible. And so, but this one person, I'll just call her out, Stephanie. She knows I love her. I tell her I love her all the time. And she's just such a fantastic volunteer. And she makes mistakes all the time. And her response is to go, look, I screwed this up. I'm so sorry. I'm doing the best that I can. And she kind of laughs it off, but not in a good way.
Matter, right? It's you're still addressing it. Not haha, I didn't do that right. But let's make it right.
It's kind of I cannot believe I did that sort of laugh. And we just go, oh, Stephanie, you have so much going on. And so, because she's super involved. She has 4 kids. She's the school board member. She's been a school board member for 12 years, 14, a really long time. So she's got a lot going on. And so I will forgive that, but also it's mostly because she takes ownership for it, of it, and just says, I screwed it up, won't happen again. Because I think people are going to make mistakes. I think it's unrealistic for leaders to think and volunteers to think that it's going to go perfectly. And you're never going to screw the pooch. It'll be just fine.
Right.
You're totally going to have to be whoops, that was goofy. So sorry.
Yeah. What about mistakes as a leader that you see happening on your board? I feel like that is a very awkward situation for me. Again, with the people pleasing, but something's gone awry and you don't want to call somebody out, and yet you need to make sure that it gets addressed and take it at the root. Have you dealt with any of those situations?
Yeah, especially this year. And it can be hard if you're kind of friends with people. to address that, because you have to do it more carefully. But I think my route, the route that I've chosen to take, is that I'm just very direct, and it's like, this is what I need from you. And this is what, not I expect, but this is what the role entails. Like, for example, if you have your membership chair, then they're probably in charge of nominating. It doesn't mean they have to do the whole, nominating process themselves, but that they're the head of the committee. And so they have to be getting other people. And if they don't understand that, then that can be really hard, because they're going to be looking for people. They're going to think that they have to look for people all by themselves. And really, it should be a group effort. So in situations kind of where I've had people not meeting expectations, I usually just not call them out, but I usually call them and say, hey, just checking in with you, what's going on? Like, I guess I have one story to share from forever ago. It was our membership chair at the elementary school. We used to do a school directory, and that was one of the perks of membership, is that you would get the, like a PDF or an Excel spreadsheet with all the PTA members' information in there. So if you want to arrange play dates, birthday parties, all that jazz, right? So essential for that lower elementary age set. And it was November, and it was still not out. And parents were like, yo, like, we're almost halfway done with the year. Like, we need this. Like, where is this? Right. So I called the vice president, and I said, hey, I'm just checking in, because I feel like when you call just to check in, you're not like, hey, you're a slacker.
Where is this?
And already setting yourself up for conflict. I feel like it's more empathetic to check in and just say, hey, what's going on? And she had like some lame excuses, and I was just like, okay, well, I really need this done. So are you going to be able to get this done or not? Like, I understand you have a different work situation, but you committed to this. So either you can do it or you can't, but I just need to know. I'm not upset. I just need to know. And so I think that it's hard because you have that conflict, because conflict is sometimes baked into mistakes.
Yeah.
So in that case, it's been such a hot minute, and my memory is so failing me that I don't remember if I did it or if she did it. I feel like she did it, but it was super late, and that people just gave her side eye, and she just didn't care that she wasn't doing her job. And I was just like, okay.
The fun of volunteer organizations, right? You can't really hold a paycheck over somebody. It's at their own, hopefully, discretion that they're doing their best at all times. But I think that's a great approach, is just to check in and say like how they're doing, and then move into the, hey, well, this is coming up, and try and work through that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, because what I found is people, when they put things off and are not doing them, it's either they don't know what they should be doing, or they don't know how to do it. Like, there's some missing information, or they need help. Right. So that's why I always say, like, tell me where you're stuck, because sometimes people don't want to own up to the fact that they don't know what they're doing, but you're like, okay, well, here's all the information to do this. What else do you need? How can I help you? Do you need a buddy? Can I get you a buddy? It doesn't have to be you as president stepping in to do everything, because, oh my gosh, that would be so much. But yeah. So I guess a question for our audience is, have you seen other people make mistakes? Like, how have they responded? Has it been a good thing, or has it been something that you've learned from, or something? Because you can learn from good and bad mistakes, and you can learn from other people's examples, both negatively and positively. So just wondering if this is an issue, and if you take that into part of your learning process. Karen, I don't know if you do this, but my husband told me years ago that he kind of does this whenever, like at work, whenever somebody says like, here was a mistake you made, he writes it down like on a list, so that he'll remember not to do it again.
Oh, but see, I have that internal thing. I will think about that comment every shower, every night, it will eat at me, and I will, until I finally have time to work through the emotion of it and say, okay, and take some ownership and say, okay, here's how I could have done that better, and move forward. But yeah, maybe that's a male-female thing, but I won't forget. Well, I promise I won't forget.
I haven't gotten into that part of the conversation with him, but I thought it was interesting because he deals with a lot of data analysis and like spreadsheets and stuff. So it might be easier to do it in that part. To address your point, for years, for years I've had trouble, well, I had, because it's no longer an issue because I solved it. So I'll tell you how I solved it. I would replay my worst moments on a highlight reel at night before I went to bed. And I would feel like such a terrible person. And then you're nodding, so I'm assuming that, does this happen for you? Okay, well, I don't do this anymore. And it was maybe like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I just decided that I was going to forgive myself for all the mistakes I made, because when I made them, I didn't know better, or I know more now to not repeat it. And so I forgave my past self. This sounds like kind of goofy, but like I had like, some people don't have an inner voice. Do you have an inner voice?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So like I said, Christina, I go, why are you doing this? You are a good person and you're not going to be perfect all the time. You are going to make mistakes. And so I just said, I really had this conversation with myself in my head, which sounds goofy, but it totally worked. I forgave myself. And then I had another conversation with myself and I said, now we're going to remember that we had this conversation and that I've already forgiven myself. And I only had to remind myself that I'd already forgiven myself twice. And then I'm good. And then anytime maybe a couple more times, but it really cut down on that negative self-talk. And I like forgave myself, because honest to God, the crap you did as like a 21-year-old, you would not make the same mistakes at all. Even the stuff that you made a year ago or a week ago, chances are you've learned from that mistake and that you can move on. But that's my goofy thing that I did. I don't know if you want to try that.
That's a very heightened, self-actualized, very healthy way to deal with things. But it was to that conversation that I've had the conversation, like it one step further than having to just repeatedly forgive yourself. No, I had that conversation. We made the decision. Yeah. It still stands. Move on.
Yeah. And I felt so much better, and I have been able to sleep much better too. Hi, I don't need a dog on camera today. He's trying to come over and see me. Yeah, so try that. It sounds crazy, but honestly, it works.
No, I think that's great advice. I'm going to try that.
Okay, good. I'll check in with you to see if that works for you. I hope it does, because I can't tell you. It sounds goofy, and I am not one of those, like, not heebie-jeebie. I don't even know how to describe it. Like, I'm not woo-woo. It sounds woo-woo. I am not woo-woo. Okay, Russell. No. No, baby, get down. I know. Okay. Yeah, it totally sounds woo-woo. I am not that, and I don't know how I came upon this. I think I got over myself. Like, I just was like, enough is enough. This is nonsense.
Yeah.
Like, I was seriously beating myself up about one time I opened a car door a little too hard into another car and dented it and didn't leave a note. And I'm like, would I do the same thing now? No. Would a 21-year-old with no money do that? Sure. Yeah. Like, that is small potatoes. And I'm sorry if I'm a horrible person, but I did that as a 21-year-old. Or a 20-year-old. I think I wasn't even 21. I was very young. So anyway, just as an example. So yeah, but it's like you're learning from that stuff. So anyway, so interesting. Have you seen other people make mistakes now that we've gone further into this conversation? Do you have any? If you don't, that's cool.
I mean, I can think of like group mistakes more than individual mistakes, like picking a bad vendor, like, and just like keeping track. Now that time we did write things down, because then you lose the institutional knowledge. Like when it affects the whole group. First of all, it makes me feel better when we make decisions as a board, and then the mistake lies with all of us. It's not on one person to decide. But then, keeping track of that so that you, and owning up to the parents, be like, that vendor, like that spiritware was womp womp. The colors came out funky. We won't use them again. Let us know how we can help make it right and reimburse people, and then know better, do better. So.
Yeah, I think that's great. That is one of the reasons. I'm glad you brought that up, because I didn't even think that next level. This is why I like to have you around, Karen. That is one of the reasons, like the evaluation forms that are baked into all of the success kits that I offer, except for, I don't think it's for treasurer, because maybe I should add it, but for like definitely fundraising and president and everybody like that, that there's part of like that self-reflection form, the summary form, where you can do it for yourself year over year so that you remember and don't forget. And then certainly if you're going to hand off the position to somebody else, it's great for them to have that information.
Right.
And because they won't know. And then it really does prevent your group from making the same mistake.
Yeah.
As long as the information is passed along.
Yeah, the lessons learned part is so critical because it's stuff that you never know is going to be a mistake, like not having enough volunteers beforehand because we have to plug in the inflatables through windows at the school and somebody's got to go and unlock rooms 30 minutes before carnival, feeding wires through windows, and you go, I wasn't planning on spending 30 minutes doing that. So yeah, those iterations of lessons learned, so critical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, okay, well, I like how this conversation, we went in different places than I thought we'd go, but I think it's super helpful. So I hope everybody watching, I hope you really enjoyed this video, and I really hope that you will join Karen and I for the next video. Until then, take care.
Want even more guidance on how to be a stronger leader so you can run a better PTO or PTA? All these resources and more are waiting for you at PTOanswers.com.